Oh, he's doing the max headroom again.
Oh,
Wait,
how
whoa!
did he do that?
I'm seeing all of us.
Yes, is that Jack doing that?
No.
What is doing that?
Jack's controlling.
I'll go out.
Do not adjust your knobs.
Wait a minute.
Wait, so here's what I think happened.
This is my favorite episode.
Are we
No.
recording this?
Yes,
Please tell me we're recording this.
we are recording.
No, here's what I think happened. Like a couple of weeks ago, Zoom insisted that I installed the update.
It's like voice activated, I think.
No, so I
The
installed
more
the
you
update.
talk, it keeps moving.
All right, let me try this.
Keep
Hang on.
going.
It's funny that we don't see Jack. Like we see the three of us.
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't
Wait,
have
now
said
it's
what
going
I said.
into color.
Okay, you know what?
No.
No, I've got to go to the laptop again, so I'll come out and come back in.
Yeah, we need you, Jack, because you're clearly the most handsome of the group.
Everybody Wang Chung tonight.
All right.
Everybody
Yeah.
around the world. Do 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 do
Wait,
do
did
do
you-
do do. Everybody Wang Chung tonight. Everybody Wang. Dude, I think we just found our intro.
Hello. Welcome to the Friends of Zeus podcast. This is episode 107. We are tonight going to be hosted by Michael. He has an interesting topic to talk about, and that would be I did it.
Just keep going.
Just keep going, man.
That would be, what are we going to do if we can't have screens in our face? Is that a fair assessment?
And practical prepping.
And what's leading to us, maybe not having screens in our face?
And the actual prepping too. So a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Do we have any business, or do we have any business this week? Or
Well, I'm at the fantastic Patriots Pub and Grill in
very
downtown
nice.
Fairfax. They make a fucking hell of a burger, and the curly fries aren't too bad either. And they serve me beer, and they let me do my show here. So I love the place.
Really
And
nice place.
They're good eggs. They're good eggs. So if you are one of the 60 subscribers we have on YouTube, and you happen to be in the Fairfax area, please drop by and pop in on the show.
Yeah,
There we
it
go.
would be fantastic.
And
Where
that
are you
would
at
be-
tonight, Mike?
I am in. I'm in under my backyard. In an old. It's an old gas tank that they excavated from the gas station down the street. So I'm kind of hallucinating a little bit right now because it's hard to get rid of those vapors. But
Just light a match and they'll
Yeah.
go away.
no candles tonight down here for Michael. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And Jack's at home. Tom's at home. Desiree's on the internet somewhere coming
Yeah,
into us.
She's about to pop in.
Just
There
popping
she
in.
is, right
There
on
she
cue.
is. Right on
Look
cue.
at her.
I don't know what's going on with this light. Hold on.
Everyone's having lighting issues today,
She's
man.
got the spooky light.
Yeah. What is that? Like a 40-watt light bulb or something?
It's my camera flashlight. I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hello, Des.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
We are
Really
great.
good.
Yeah, we actually
Good.
just were getting started.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Zeus
Do you guys
did the
like
bi-
my t-shirt? It says T-Rex hates lifting.
It's pretty fun.
Oh, because the little
Yeah,
hands,
the
Oh,
little
the
arms.
little arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had that excuse because I haven't worked out in a while. I didn't today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I haven't worked
Hold
out.
on. I thought you were Orange Boy.
Well, T-Rex does a lot of leg work, I think, and tail work.
Yeah, he's known for his quads.
Yeah.
He's good on leg. He's good
Oh.
on leg day.
Good. So at least one of us is prepared.
Awesome.
All right, I'm gonna get her going because we got a juicy one tonight. So
Okay, Mike.
I'm sure everyone's heard of prepping. Prepping is kind of a phenomena that has, been around for a long time, pretty much since humans started living on this planet. But in recent years, it's gotten a lot more attention. There's a ton. I mean, if you start looking at stuff on the internet, there's tons written about this. But basically, roughly like 30, 40 years ago, like 1% of people admitted to being in the United States, admitted to be preppers. And in the last just 5 years or so, it's gone over 50%, which kind of surprises me. Yeah,
50%.
Let me
No.
clarify. Not full-fledged preppers, but people that have made preparations, like whatever that is, like minor, even like that they may keep some extra canned food, they keep water, they bought a ham radio, whatever.
But that's just like for a hurricane or an earthquake, but
Yeah,
not
natural
What's
disaster.
a ham radio?
A ham radio is a shortwave,
Long wave.
long wave radio unit, yeah, that you can broadcast yourself and receive. So basically, what got me thinking about this is in our house, just the origins of this whole thought process. Our daughter, she's loves using screens and stuff like that, and we've been really working to try to curb that. So we came up with this idea to do days where we do no screens at all, and no computer, no phone, nothing, no television. And this past Sunday we did it, and I decided to take it to the next level and like just really try not to use anything like
He
phone or
texted
anything.
me about it on that day.
Right. Zeus kept texting me like, what are we doing for the show? And I'm like, I can't. And then finally I'm like, if I don't reply to him, he's going to text me every 6 minutes. So I had to respond. Anyway,
but technically, if you were following your own rules, you wouldn't have even seen
right.
the text.
We gave ourselves, at the end of the day, we gave ourselves like a 92% as far as like being able to stay off screens. But the funny thing is I woke up and like, seriously, from the moment my eyeballs opened in the morning, the one thing I had to do is I was supposed to call my parents because we were playing phone tag the day before. And I realized that if I'm not using my phone, and I was being militant about it, like I didn't know what my parents' phone number is. I mean, they've lived there 10 years. It wasn't my house. I don't know what the number is. I have it written on my phone. I have it written in my computer. They don't have long distance calls on your phone bill anymore. So I couldn't look there to see it. So I had to go into my phone to get the number to call. I have a landline.
House phone?
I have a landline. Yeah. That's another podcast.
Hey, man.
So
I don't have a landline, so why are you acting like that's crazy?
It is crazy. But
why? Why do you need a landline?
No, why you don't need one? I don't.
No, why
do
you
have
need
one.
one?
Right. I have one.
Mocking him for having a landline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have one. So anyway, within 2 minutes of waking up Sunday, I was already like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do? So throughout the whole day, I kind of just like kept some notes, and I was like, it ended up being a fantastic day. Like I made the phone call. My family and I, we did a puzzle. Like we do puzzles on vacation, but not normally, around the house. But we did a puzzle. We were like, I noticed that when I was sitting down and looking outside, that I wasn't just like glancing outside. I was like really looking outside, because normally I look outside and in the next 6 seconds I pick up my phone and all my visual input is like this far from my face. You know what I mean? Right. I was looking at things more than I normally do. I was writing. Everything I was writing was by hand instead of typing. I read an entire book, this Thomas Sowell book I've had, which is a whole other podcast. I read the entire thing like in just a few hours.
Which book?
Impressive.
Charter Schools and Their Enemies. It's his latest one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We talked more than we normally talk as a family. Anyway, it was everyone. By the end of the day, like my wife was saying, like her stress level and anxiety level was lower than it has been in a long time. I felt the same way. We went to sleep very easily. It was just a super pleasant day, and so anyway, one of the things that we were talking about was this whole idea of prepping, because you guys know me here on the podcast. I'm always like, man, we're shit's gonna hit the fan soon, hon. So I stress her out all the time with the way I talk about stuff.
I thought you were gonna say you're all like the party.
No, I don't know. But I get worried about that too. But I get worried about stuff. Most of it I just save for the podcast. I'm not like this in normal life all the time. Anyway, the whole idea, if you start looking at prepping, it's a little overwhelming because you have people out there, like all humans do. It's been a theme of our podcast. People take things to the absolute extreme, and it seems like too much to even get started on, because it's like, well, if I'm not ready to survive like, Red Dawn, then why even bother trying? And so we started thinking, hey, why don't we just look at it in the context of 30 days? Like, here we are, we really don't do anything. We're always 48 hours away from total pandemonium in this country. So I was like, let's just think 30 days. Like, because what we kind of thought about and started talking about was, you don't have to prep forever. You just have to prep enough to be ahead of the curve of other people. Because when the shit hits the fan, most people are going to be like, oh, holy crap. So if you know what you're going to do in the first 48 hours, you're well ahead of the curve. I mean, even into, and we'll get into this stuff later.
Well, you
but
have to
stuff
prep
that,
long enough to kill the next group of people.
yeah, you have to find the next person. But we were thinking, like, currency, just one example. Currency is an interesting thing. So depending on the disaster, like if there's a war, if there's like some sort of, something catastrophic, nuclear exchange, cash, people who hoard cash, that's great. But when we were thinking about it, I think within a very short amount of time, cash will begin to be worthless, because resources will be worth, they'll be worth something. So the first thing that we thought about was like, okay, if we have some cash hoarded, in the event of an emergency, you want to spend that on resources immediately. Like, you want to unload that cash and turn it into things. Like, go to 7-Eleven, buy every Zippo lighter they have. You know what I mean? Like, in stock within an hour, before anyone else even thinks about it. Anyway, get rid of your cash. This is just one of the examples. So I'll bring up the slideshow here in a second.
That's kind of a dick move. Is you're going to go and buy all the lighters?
I know. Just
nobody else is going to get one.
This is all theoretical. This is all
Sounds
theoretical.
very indicative of buy all the toilet paper.
Yeah, it is. Hoarding, but you also, and we'll get into this later, but we also started realizing that humans, you have neighborhoods, you have friends. I think, and no one knows, but I think after a while, people will form communities and will be sharing resources and things along those lines. But if any experience
will come into play, the human condition.
People. I don't think people are going to be asses each other forever, but they will be. Look, when that pipeline went down, the gas, people were filling Home Depot buckets. I mean, in 48 hours, people were like honking in lines. I mean, the initial thing, people can get very prickly, but I think after that, hopefully it would calm down. But anyway, I'm getting too far down the road on this.
Yeah,
I did a little slideshow. Let's bring it up here. Share the screen. Bing, bang, boom. All right. So I just thought this was kind of funny. So I totally stole almost every image on the slideshow, but that's fine. It's the internet. Let me jump here. All right. So just as a little opening screen, I just thought it was funny with the whole Tim Leary thing from the 60s, turn in, tune in, drop out. We're talking about, going without technology, like turn off, tuning out, jumping into prepping, right? So these are just some funny pictures. I really like the one with the guy on the couch, because this is kind of how I feel sometimes when I'm thinking about prepping, right? I mean,
I was going with the one with the sharp objects and the mushrooms.
Oh yeah, no, I like that one a lot too. Yeah, and
I'm actually a fan of the fire, because you can see Dana's dead dog in it.
Yes,
I can see it from here.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's our picture.
Hilarious.
Fire is very important. So just as a starting point, and again, jumping back to the technology thing, I just wanted to give a brief synopsis of kind of how we got here. So present day, 2023, phones are ubiquitous. I mean, they're basically just little mini computers. Everyone has them on them all the time. People are looking at them. We've already talked about this a million times. You got the family sitting here on the couch. It's a little bit of an exaggeration. And of course, I use the Lilliputian analogy, how you just get tied down by the technology. Before 2023, the last big, I would say, evolution of this was 1994 and 2007. So in 1994, is really the beginning of the internet as far as like most people using it.
Most people having a computer in the home.
Yeah, and logging on to CompuServe, and it was the very beginnings of people actually using email in place of U.S. Postal Service and things like that. Again, not everyone was in it, and it certainly was, it's just the very inception of it as far as like popular culture in the United States, in the world, people using the internet. And then you get to 2007, you have the introduction of the smartphone or the iPhone. I mean, there are some instances of, like the, what's that one that had the little keyboard on it? BlackBerry,
BlackBerry,
things along those lines. But really,
Palm Pilot,
until you get to 07 with the introduction of the iPhone, that was just a huge leap forward as far as the power of these things. So again, these are two different dates. You go back to 2007, that's kind of when the smartphone came in. You go back to 1994, that's when the internet started being used. The next kind of important time would be 1977, which is really when the personal computer started entering the home. Again, for a lot of people,
isn't that when Al Gore created the internet?
I think that was back in the 60s. The internet.
But
in 77, for most of us, it was they're going to remember that's when the Atari 2600 came out. But as far as computing power, you started having like TRS-80s and other computers showing up
I had a Commodore 64
in the home.
I'm pretty early in there.
Yeah, I mean the 64, I think it was out in 77, but again, by the time you get to the 80s,
it was in the Commodore
64,
like the 80s. It was the first affordable home computer.
Yeah,
I think once you got to like 82, at least personally, almost everyone I knew had a computer in their home by like 1982. And most of them were Commodore 64s or VIC-20s or TI-99s or, early versions of that. So these are just some pictures. This is what's going on in 1977. This picture here, we can talk about it later. This was like one of the two major blackouts in New York City. I'm curious if Jack has some personal knowledge of that. And I thought this was Putin in 1977. So he was still with the KGB then. I thought that was kind of interesting. If you go back before 1977 with technology, the very first outdoor public street light was in Cleveland, of all places. I didn't know that. I had to look it up. And they actually still have one of these lights that's preserved there. Also, the same year Einstein was born. And surprisingly, because I was just looking at technology things, it was also the very first image of Jupiter that we ever saw was taken in 1879, which amazed me. I didn't even realize, and that's the actual picture of it, which was pretty surprising to me. So in the grand scheme of things, you look at like human history, up until 1879, of course, electricity existed before that, but for most people, they didn't really experience it. Before you had indoor lighting, you had this exterior lighting. And it really took off quick. I mean, by the beginning of the 20th century, most cities had, plenty of light outside and things like that. But again, I'm just trying to give some context. This gets back into like where I was starting, and this was just before our viewers to kind of think about as a little thought experiment, taking a day off of work to abstain from technology as much as you can. One thing, obviously if you're not using screens, you're not using the internet. One thing I would like to try to do, and we do it sometimes when we go camping, but even then we use electricity. I'd like to try one of these days where I just don't even use electricity. Don't drive, try to spend your time outside, make sure all your interactions with people is face to face, and just try to, keep a note of how you feel, things that you notice that you haven't noticed before. Things that you enjoy, things that you don't like, ideas that you have. Again, this is something you can do anytime when you have the day off. And I think it seems scary and strange, but I've done this to a point. Again, the next thing I'm going to do is go without electricity, but it is interesting. And again, the thing I'd like to think about is I'm not a prepper. Do any of you guys prep anything meaningful?
I feel like I'm partially prepping. Like I told you, I got a pellet gun that if things came down, I could put an eye out or kill a varmint.
Right.
I don't have. I mean, well, like seriously. I mean, it's quiet, so there's that. If you're out in the woods and you're trying to stay hidden, it's not going to be a whip crack across 3 miles.
Right.
I just bought some night vision goggles, but that was kind of an impulse buy. But I had the money. No,
it's cool. Yeah.
No, they're like super cool.
I can't wait to see them, man. I mean,
What are
like
you going to use those for in general?
It's for his Buffalo Bill imitation.
The apocalypse.
The apocalypse. Well, that's the thing. Not everything has to be the apocalypse, but it is like if you can prepare for that, anything.
I have a lot of analog things. I have an azimuth, which, if you're not familiar, that's like a compass, but you can actually get coordinates off of it. I learned how to use it in the military, so that's very useful.
Compass.
I got a cold steel Tonto, which is a very effective and very sharp knife. I've got a few things.
Okay, so you're a little bit.
I'm actually thinking about buying one of those buckets of MREs.
Yeah,
relatively cheap, and like you were saying, you got to last a couple weeks. If you can get past the first couple weeks, you might
you're
be
ahead. You're ahead of the game.
Zeus is either preparing for the apocalypse or he's preparing to be the apocalypse.
To cause it. Yeah, to
He's
cause
got
the
all
apocalypse.
these weapons.
Yeah.
He's just going to start killing people.
Well, I didn't buy a firearm because I'm afraid I might use it.
Yeah. We'll get to that too. That's another whole part of
The
this.
only reason I don't own a real firearm is because I'm afraid that it'll be misused.
Yeah. Copy that.
Outside of that, I am kind of teetering on the edge of buying like a Smith & Wesson semi-auto and immediately buying a lockbox and giving the code to one of you guys.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other thing, but that's part of this too. I think for people that are watching and just us for the show, just what I'd like you to do is kind of think like, what if something went down like right this second? Like that's kind of the prepping that I'm talking about. Is like if something hit the fan like right now, like the screen is like the emergency broadcast system comes up, like what would you do? And
I'd go to bed.
But I think it's hard to take all this to the extreme. I mean, there's shows about it and I don't have the time to do all that, and I don't have the money to do all that. But if you can at least spend some time to think about what you would do in the first 24 hours, like I said, you will be in the 99th percentile of people if you at least just do that. So let's go on. We got a couple more.
One of the first things I would do is abandon the car, because that's just gonna fucking get you trapped.
Well, there's a lot of cars that won't work in certain situations anyway.
No, I'm saying you're gonna be stuck in traffic. It's better to just fucking follow the wood line.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like what type of disasters would cause people to flee their home versus not? I mean, that's another consideration.
Right. Would you hunker down or try to head somewhere?
Right.
That's the question. You have to have a plan, I guess.
So just some examples of things to be prepared for, snowstorms, obviously weather events, floods, fires, chemical spills. War is a big one. Riots.
Cicadas. Did you put that on there on purpose?
Yes. There's a lot of throwbacks to earlier episodes in these slides, but yeah.
Well, on the plus side, I'm vaccinated.
Well, there you go. That's good. Pandemics on here.
Another one I was reading about today is the CME, the coronal mass ejection.
Yes, I didn't put that on here, but that's a very valid thing, and it has happened many, many times in history.
What is this?
Have you ever had a mass ejection?
Coronal.
Yeah,
it's like a sun flare, I guess.
Sun flare.
Solar flare.
Yeah.
So the last time that occurred, and I don't have the exact dates, I just remember this from knowing about it. I think it was the late 1800s was the last significant one, and it totally fried telegraph lines all over the world. I mean, it fried them. Like there was a lot of problems, but there weren't that many telegraph lines, so it wasn't. It didn't really make a big blip.
1972.
When?
1972 was when the last major solar flare occurred.
But not one that was the one in the late 1800s was dramatic. I mean,
if it knocked out telegraph lines,
it knocked out telegraph
it had
lines.
to be something.
Yeah, it fucking went analog.
This is saying it knocked out long distance phone communications across states.
Wow.
Okay.
When was that? 72? Yeah, none of us would probably remember that. But
we were 1 year old.
yeah, we were. Yeah. So this one, and I want to give some credit too. There's one thing I thought about when I was thinking of this topic was, oh, this would be great. There's a million people that do prepping, but not many people do simple prepping. Wrong. Millions of podcasts on simple prepping. There's the one I got this list from. There's actually, it's called the Practical Prepping Podcast. So I got this list from them just to give credit. There's like Primal Survival I was looking at. Primal Survivor, the Casual Preppers Podcast. And that's sort of where even they kind of take it to more of an extreme than even I'm talking about. I mean, again, yeah, guys ever hear that expression like better done than perfect? It's like better to be prepared to last 72 hours than to not be prepared at all. You know?
Right.
So anyway, so this was things to worry about. You know, you got financial issues, which I had never even thought about that. I mean, obviously having cash on hand or something to barter.
What's the solution to that?
Cash
Just
is
have gold or something?
No, I think any sort of currency is going to, in a long-term situation, is going to become not valuable. I
The
think
new
resources are going to be.
It'll be
But gold will still have value, right?
Gold will have value to an extent.
yeah, as a conductor, but not as finance.
But I think resources will be valuable. Again, water, food, shelter, fire. Those are the big ones, you know. I mean,
caveman brain with this shit. If it goes down hardcore, the grid is gone, no cell phones. You got to have ham radios. You got to have weapons. You got to have the wherewithal to talk to people before fucking murdering them for their shit.
Well, I think that's again, that's like the storming of the machine gun nest. I think it's a little extreme to say that people are going to be that much at each other's throats, but maybe, I don't know. I mean, you should at least be thinking about those things. But here's something about water, okay? If you have a power grid failure or an EMP go down, it's like, okay, well, I still have water. No, you don't, because pumping stations, I mean, it's all based on pressure, and you'll have water for a while.
Yeah.
You'll have water for a while, but once that pressure goes down, you're not going to have water. And then plus, if these treatment facilities go down, bacterial growth within the water supply. So, you know, if you go on Amazon, I didn't make a slide of this, but I went on Amazon and I was like, okay, if I had a $200 budget, what would be some good things to get? You know, I didn't think of night vision like Zeus did. I think that's a good idea. A water filtration system. They have gravity fed ones that are anywhere from like 30 to $80, depending on the type you get, where you can go out and get creek water, put it in this thing, and it'll filter through to where you can drink it. Water tablets, you know, again, they don't go bad. You could have like a bag of water tablets, you put it in creek water or river water, and it'll purify it. Fire, you know, how many people, it's like you have a lighter of some kind, but who has matches anymore? Do you have like flint and steel? Do you know how to use flint and steel?
I actually have matches in waterproof cases. I found them.
There you go.
In the lobby where
But this is stuff that people used to have all the time, and I don't know that they do anymore. I mean, I don't, you know, lighting, again, shelter is a big thing, and technology has come a long way. I mean, there are thermal blankets that are, you know, made of aluminum foil that can fold into the size of a credit card. You know, you can just throw it in your glove box or whatever. It can help keep you warm. They use them for disasters and stuff all the time. First aid and medical, you know, if you take prescription medicines, having like some plan or supply of those, you know, power issues, batteries, you know, batteries go bad. You can, again, go on Amazon, you can buy things that recharged by solar, hand cranked radios, things along those lines. Again, if your phone is down, if towers are down, there'll still be some civilian broadcasts. But I was walking around my house. The other thing on Sunday, I wanted to listen to some music. All my music is on my phone. So I was like, I want to hear some music. So we were getting ready to brush off the turntable and play the vinyl, right? And I was like, well, we can listen to radio. I don't own a radio. The only radio I have is in my car. Like, I mean, I'm talking about a radio where over the air broadcast. I don't own one. I stream radio and tune in. I don't listen to over the air broadcast. So
as far as sanitation, I have about a third of a pack of one wipe Charlies, so that should
I got them down here. Man.
That's going to be the new currency.
Here we go.
That's
the
right.
apocalypse.
Don't you love those one wipe Charlies?
I gotta try.
I went on
This-
Amazon and bought some called Dude Wipes.
No, they're not the same. They are not the same.
This podcast is brought to you by One Way
They are,
Charlie's.
but I got them at a discount, so I'll give them a shot.
You're going to be
Clean-
disappointed.
Clean your ass
We have
before
done
you
the
kiss
same.
it goodbye.
Mhm.
All right. So safety and security, this would go into weaponry, whether it be knives, guns, bows and arrows. Again, gear I would get in, getting back into hunting, fishing, cultivation of seeds or whatever, if you're into that. Fishing, if you had a roll of fishing line and some hooks, that's all you need. You don't need a fishing pole. You can just use a stick. If you want firearms for protection, that's one thing. If you want firearms for hunting, what about bow and arrow? I mean, there's people that are
I got
skilled.
2 recurve bows.
There's people that are skilled archers. You can reuse arrows. They're silent, so you're not going to give away any position. Anyway, and it's a good skill to know. Fishing is a good skill to know. Communications, again, not only walkie-talkies or ham radio, but also if you have family that's in friends that are in other parts of the country or other parts of the state, do you have any kind of plan on how you're going to talk to each other? Like, is there a plan like, no,
meeting
we're all going to
place or
head to
something.
Tom's house, or we're all going again, these are just, I'm not an expert and I'm not trying to be an expert. These are just things I've thought about. And that this is one that they, this is a list they listed here.
I'm coming to your shelter, Mike.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's all meet there.
Some other
Keep the
considerations.
show together. No matter what, we got to keep the show together.
We got to keep. We will keep doing this show every week, even in the apocalypse.
Well, yeah, no, we could do episodes over the ham radio.
Exactly.
There we
We don't
go.
have to. We won't be able to do slideshows, but
No.
Hamcast.
Pets that's a heartbreaking one, man. I don't know. I mean, my cat is an elderly cat. He requires a lot of care.
Yes, the meat will be tougher.
I hate.
Good for food, right?
Good for food. Navigation.
And
this,
milk. Have you
and
ever?
milk.
Have you ever
No.
with the cat?
No, I don't think it works that way.
Ah, fucker.
Meet
But-
the Falkers, yeah.
So navigation, we talked about this on another podcast. I used to have an ADC map for all these counties around
Right.
Baltimore in my car. No one does that anymore. I navigate everything on my phone. So having some maps, maybe, or some basic maps. I mean, so you can kind of navigate. Again, gardening, hunting, fishing, fitness and health. I'm not in shape right now. It's probably a good idea to, one way to survive is, be in shape, or at least take care of yourself. Weather protection, be prepared for the environment that you're living in. Personal ID, copies of documents, things along those lines to prove who you are. Again, medications that are prescription, weapons, clothing, transportation. Depending, if you have an EMP, any car that has a push button start, just kiss it goodbye. It's going to be a paperweight.
One
Any
thing
car
you're
that
missing
has
in
a
all this.
battery
Hmm?
will go out. Any car that has a battery will go out with an EMP.
Not necessarily. There are some, because I did a deep
Well, if you have
dive
a
in
clutch,
this.
if you have a clutch, which I do, you'd be fine. But here's my thing, man. If you
Yeah.
marry yourself to your car at the beginning of something like this, you're gonna be fucked.
Well,
Me, if you drive as soon as shit goes down and you start driving just to get to a heavily wooded area, you're gonna be fine. But if you fucking marry yourself to your car at the beginning of something like this, you're fucked.
You mean you say marry yourself? You mean like if you just, I'm going to stay in my car?
If you rely on your car.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well,
beginning of something
depending on where you are. I mean, we all live in different places. I mean, basically, I have this pic. This is my old Chrysler. Anything that is
It's a great car.
carbureted. Oh, I love it. I mean, I'm so, yeah, it's sad. But anything that it's not fuel injected, it's carbureted, should run. You know what I mean? There's no circuitry in that vehicle at all. They should still continue to run. But then what are you going to maintain a 55-year-old car for,
Yeah,
in case there's an EMP?
I
I
think
don't
if
know.
you start at the beginning of something like this, you get yourself to a heavily wooded area. Hopefully you have a ham radio and you figure things out from there. You start talking.
Ham
Yeah.
radio is huge, because the thing about ham radios, if you can plug in, at least as a receiver, people that are into ham radios, and I've known some in my life, I don't know any right now, but they live for this stuff. Like they are, if anything goes down, ham radio people, they're going to like jump to attention. They're going to be a great source of information.
But
So at
do
least
those work without electricity?
you can have a
crank-
you can get a
Yeah.
hand cranked one
You
that has an
crank 'em?
internal battery. Yeah.
All right.
And then
Oh,
lastly,
jeez.
did that go off? Oh, wait, sorry. Did I get ahead of myself?
Yeah.
We
Okay,
will
hold on.
find.
You're going backwards.
Actually, let me go backwards. I do want to go backwards once. This I thought was interesting, and I didn't see this till, oh God, why does it keep doing this? Let me go
What's
back.
going on?
Okay, so this here, tactical neighborhood defense, like knowing your neighborhood, knowing your neighbors, knowing weak points, escape points. I was like, man, these people are. I had never even thought of that. Anyway, not that I even want to think about that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
like the Walking Dead stuff.
That's
You
like the
gotta
Walking
build-
Dead stuff.
Yeah, you
Oh,
gotta.
man, apocalypse. That's the one I want.
So
I'm gonna find people I hate.
in conclusion, at least for the slideshow, the reading I was doing and just the discussions we've had, these are the kind of levels that I'm talking about as far as like casual prepping. You got bug out bags, which are basically just like a gym bag filled with things that you can just grab and get the hell out of Dodge, right? You
Yeah,
got
binoculars, knife.
yeah, something that would fit in a gym bag.
Yeah.
You've got get home bags, which this would be a bag that you'd have in your car that if you're out somewhere, it would, what's the furthest away from your home that you are in any given day? I mean, for me, I'm up to 50 miles away. So, I would have a bag in my car, but that's not typical. Typical is like 20 miles, but I have a bag in your car that would have enough resources and things for you to walk home somehow. But these are the kind of 3 levels that I'm talking about when I'm talking about casual prepping. Would be like a 72-hour plan, 30-day plan is kind of the sweet spot, 3 months on the long end. I mean, once you get past 3 months, now you're living in a shelter like this. You're buying what is that, My Patriot Supply or MREs, or like going overboard. I'm not, it's not that I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. Like, I just know myself well. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get into like rotating my food supply. I'm just not going to. I'm going to want to do it, but I'm not going to do it. So these are these are levels where I think you can exist, or you can go longer, and then you're getting into could be getting into some more complications there. So that is, let me stop sharing here. That is the slideshow.
One thing you're missing in all this, Mike.
Yeah.
You didn't talk about like complete 100% utter dependence upon the federal government.
Oh, yeah.
Are you expecting people to like be, self taking care of themselves here?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Shouldn't we be listening to the party?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to the people in like East Palestine, Ohio, or wherever.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's kind of what brought all this on.
Yeah, I know.
And I really want to watch that movie that Tom was talking about. I had heard about it as well, White Noise. It sounds intriguing at the very least.
Yeah.
So if I may,
well, the fact that they filmed it there and people from that town played extras in the movie,
right.
It's a little frightening when you think about it.
It is.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So I'm open up the floor, but
supposedly they did like a hazardous material freaking simulation like a week and a half, 2 weeks before this, and they handed out these cards that had little chips in them that had all your information, like medical and all that. Now I'm saying this supposedly, but it certainly sounds realistic. A very short period before this, it's all fucking hinky as hell. And then we're having all these industrial disasters in like a very short period of time. Like the last industrial disaster was probably Exxon Valdez, and now we got fucking Chernobyl in the middle of the breadbasket. Interestingly, this is my conspiracy theory, but interestingly, in Ohio, which is the hands down, it's the state when the elections go on that almost always determines who the winner is. Am I wrong?
it's a swing state.
It's one of them. Yeah.
But it's the one they always talk about. It's always the one they talk about. Ohio. Who gets Ohio wins the election. So
Lately, yeah.
peculiar.
We should have had Mike EP on this, but I looked
yeah.
up. He's about two. Wait, no, he's pretty far from East Palestine. He's on the whole other side of the state.
Yeah, we really should have had him on.
East Palestine's like right on the Pennsylvania line, and he's like up in the northeast.
Well, we're
section.
doing. I mean, if we want to do a podcast on some of these theories, conspiracies, industrial accidents, we can always have Mike EP on for that. I mean, this is something slightly different. I mean, this is about are you prepared, or what would you do to prepare for? And it wouldn't have to be war, right, Mike? It could be a snowstorm, a flood.
Yeah.
You're losing electricity and all what comes with that. And so how do you?
They're all so different. I mean,
They are.
what am I preparing for? What do you think is like the highest chance? Situation.
They're not that different. If the idea is to survive without much help
for a short period of time,
A blizzard could last you weeks.
Yeah, people go without heat and power. I did several times.
We had blizzards and no like real worries about things. And I was like walking through the snow to get to the supermarket to get milk and bread and all the, luckily I live right next to a grocery store and it's kind of hidden in a community. You know what I'm talking about, Mike. So it's not going to be one of the ones that gets hit by the general public. People don't even know it's there. It's like oddly right in the middle of like a very suburban area. But yeah, and that was trying in its own right. But let's not get away from. So Mike had us do an experiment on the show.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
Of
not good
shutting down. And for me, so we all I assume, Des, did you turn off your phone for 3 hours?
I didn't turn it off, but I mean I didn't use it.
All right, so
that's good.
So the first hour was rough, but I actually found that, there's a couple times where I was like, arguing with Ollie, and I'm like, well, let me go find the facts, but I didn't do it. And it was, I don't want to say it was hard, but it was eye-opening. Like, it is very peculiar to not have a screen in front of you in one way, shape, or form. If you're not on your phone, you're in front of the computer. It's almost like the whole computer thing was created to make us.
Isn't it amazing how fast that happened?
Yeah. Well, computers, they say computer technology increases. It doubles every 18 months, but I'm willing to bet that number has increased and that it's probably less time.
It's computing power. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, like I said, it wasn't so it was more alarming in that the visage of what it would be like not to have it longer. For me, it was more about like, oh my God, what would I do if I needed to fucking find any information? I don't have a Encyclopedia Britannica in my house.
No.
Yeah. I do have a wilderness survival. That's my other prepping item. I do have a how to survive in the woods. Look what kind of herbs can you eat, things like that.
We outsource a lot of brain power. It's like, if you look at, I don't know how many of you guys were Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, but if you're just looking for an inexpensive, super great book to have, it would be, there's 4 of them. There's 4 main Boy Scout books.
Oh, the Turner Diaries?
No. Like the what is it? Like the Bobcat, the Wolf, the Bear, and the Boy Scout Handbook, or even just the Boy Scout Handbook. It's like very small, and everything from like dressing wounds to foraging, like what to eat and not eat, how to hunt, how to fish.
It's
again, this is
surprisingly similar to the Army. Like, you have this, when you get into the Army, they give you this book. It's about this big and about that wide.
Yeah.
But it goes over a lot of stuff like dressing wounds, things like that. Yeah, I would like to get one of those again, but my wilderness book is pretty tight.
The tie-in with technology and like kind of going without it for a while, where that ties in with this is I felt like it, like I was kind of in a fog. And when I gave it up for a day or some time, it got me thinking about these things like, well, what would I do in this situation? And I really think, like, again, not to keep repeating myself, but I think just having some of these thoughts and thinking about this stuff, even if you're just doing it while you're going to sleep or driving in a car, is going to pay dividends for you just in general, because you don't want to go walking around your house and be like, damn, I don't have any matches. Like, I don't have gas. My house is all electric, especially these days with the push for everything to be electrified and the grid goes down. It's like, you still need food, you need water, you need heat, you need shelter. Those are the big ones, and a lot of us are just walking around like veal calves. We have no idea. We have no idea how to take care of ourselves, if it's not at a grocery store. I mean, even getting down to the point of, if you have a canned food supply for 30 days, it's like, just buy a few more cans of food every time you go to the grocery store for a couple months. Get like a supply of like 100, I don't even know, do the math for your family, like what you need calorically each day. And then just start using the ones that are older and resupply the newer ones, and like rotate
I think
it.
I would just hunker down in the house here.
And then
all the stuff is here. It's a roof over my head. I've got a gutter system. I can use that to collect rainwater. I've got my matches here. Toilet paper. Everything. I think I got that. Yeah. Why not just stay in your house?
The thing, when my wife and I were going through all this stuff, that what we kind of landed on was, for if you're doing casual prepping or like a 30-day prepping, it's less about having resources. It's more about having tools to get resources. So you don't have to keep water, but having a water filtration thing that costs
a plastic
$30
bag something to collect rainwater.
Collect rainwater, or if you don't want to store food, have some hunting stuff, or have some fishing stuff available, or have things that allow you to get resources.
Well, and then but also for some people, let's say city folk, or even suburban people, really, there's not going to be a lot of big hunting game, or and unless you live near like a creek or something that has salmon going through it or something, like, you know what I mean? So I remember when I had the house in New England, we had a meat freezer in the basement that was well stocked. We had a propane grill, and I always had extra propane tanks. Like, I wasn't a prepper, but I kind of was in the sense of that. And then also, we used to buy bottled water by the gallons, because I had a lot of kids. We drank a lot. We didn't let them drink soda. And so I remember at one point, and we had like this little part of the cellar. It was almost like an extra room that always stayed very cool. And we kept like just junk in there. And I remember like when we went through one of these blizzards where we lost power for days in the freezing cold, like, we had to, like, suddenly I'm out there grilling and making chili on the propane tank, and we're putting what was in the fridge in the snow. You know what I mean? And we had the meat freezer with all the stuff, and that stays refrigerated for a while. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you got to empty it all out and put it outside. Like, it's frozen. And I remember thinking, and we had a lot of candles. Like, we made it fun. We played board games. We all slept like in the same bed at one point because the kids were little, so to keep warm at night.
That's awesome.
And so I felt kind of like, hey, I don't know how to do anything. I have no skills. I can't hunt. I don't know, I didn't have a ham radio, but we had like transistor radios. I remember listening to the Celtics in the playoffs by candlelight on the radio, because we had batteries because we have kids, so there were a lot of toys, so there was a lot of batteries. and it kind of felt like really surviving, which was
Mhm.
cool. Now I'm in an apartment in an urban environment looking at New York City. And I grew up here. And so I remember as a kid, the idea of prepping and surviving, I was like, no, we're toast. Like we're done.
Right.
If there's a big one, there's no,
Yeah, the city people. Yeah.
yeah, city people are kind of fucked. Because even if you want to store canned, like let's say you're like Tom, I want to be able to not leave my apartment. How many canned goods and bottles of water are you gonna be able to keep in an apartment? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're not
Yeah.
gonna have a bunker, you're not gonna have a basement. So you're kind of fucked, you know? And I remember thinking that, and I still think like I'm not prepped at all.
Well, maybe your plan, and I'm not saying you specifically, but and I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe
Yeah.
if you're in an urban environment, the part of the plan is getting out of Dodge
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
having a place to go. Having somewhere to
For
go.
me,
Yeah.
for me, it's going to be, I mean, and I hope you guys agree. I think it's going to be about turning on your caveman brain. You're going to have to do shit that you weren't ever in your life planning to do.
Right.
It may be threatening for food. It may be, I mean, Tom keeps laughing when I say this, but that's a very real possibility that you're going to fight for your life every day.
Well, here's an example. Like I know some people who are hunters. I have never I had a goldfish that died when I was little, and I was wrecked. Right, so I've never
We were
killed
just
something.
about it the other day.
I ran over a baby rabbit with my lawnmower when I was younger. Like it still freaks me out. So, but anyway, I have friends that are hunters, and this has made me think like, hey, dude, can I join you on the next trip just to learn how to do it? Like, how do you dress a deer? Like, I think I can fire a gun. I could probably,
I can dress a deer,
but I don't know how to dress a deer. I don't know how to dress a squirrel. We've talked about
No.
that before. But I'm thinking like now, like I
let
don't.
it bleed out.
It's distasteful to me personally. I mean, I love hunting. I think hunters are great, but me personally, I'm not into it. But that's something maybe I can get over, and they would, if I said, "Hey, can I go?" I know they would be like, "Oh man, come on, we've been waiting for
Yeah.
you to."
For me, it's not about dressing the deer. I think dressing a deer, if you have any common base knowledge, you hang it upside down, you slit its throat, you let it bleed out. That's probably okay. The problem is whether it's rabid, whether it's
Yeah, I don't know even the questions to ask.
those are the
I
problems.
mean, if this is like a nuclear situation, there's radiation poisoning, you
Nuclear.
might not be able to eat anything or fish from the rivers or anything.
What's that pill that you can take for radiation poisoning? Is it iodine? Iodine.
Cyanide will take care of it.
No. Iodine tablets.
Oh,
Isn't
wipe
that-
it right out.
Aren't you
Cyanide
supposed to take?
will cure it too.
Well, let's ask Desiree. Aren't you supposed to take iodine to battle radiation sickness?
No,
I think I think so, but one of the cool things that I have is I have a thing. I don't use it on the regular, but I don't know, maybe I should put it in my shit's going down bag. It's one of those things that you put on like you kind of clip it like on your collar or whatever, and it like absorbs radiation. So
The dosimeter,
I don't know what it's called. It's the
the
radiation
little
thing.
detector.
Radiation bajibby.
Yeah, I don't know what it does,
Dosimeter.
but you're supposed to wear it when you're around radiation, so it absorbs radiation. And I think it does. Like it tells you like if you've had too much. I don't know.
Little Geiger counter thing.
I have a 3-piece suit made of lead.
Okay.
Well, here's something. Like one thing my wife said that I thought was kind of funny. She was like, "We should have a craft hour when we go to the mountains together, and we can make Faraday bags, which are basically little bags that you can put your phone in that protects them from EMPs and nuclear blasts and things like that. And you can make them with stainless steel and aluminum foil in a airtight container, or you can buy. You spend hundreds of dollars on them. But
if shit goes down, and we really should have what grade of the shit goes down is, but I say everybody fucking struggling. Phones are going to be useless. If anything, they're going to be used to track you, and you don't have to have, I guarantee that you can put your phone on airplane mode, and that GPS chip is still working.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Without a doubt. Because
Well,
we're too indoctrinated. Again, that term comes up, but we are too indoctrinated into this technology. Like I said, if
we rely on it. We rely on it. That's what this is all about.
In any form of Armageddon where we have to start fucking moving, having any technology is going to be a negative thing. You are going to have to go, like I said, analog everything. Ham radios, shortwave radios. You better learn your fucking Morse code.
Yeah, that's a very important thing. Morse code is huge.
You better learn how to use a bow and arrow rather than a gun, unless the gun will be for self-defense. The bow and arrow will be for hunting. Because
long term, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna want, and if the shit goes down to a point like quickly where we know this is it, is the shit going down, you better fucking get mobile as quick as you can and don't stop moving.
But even
moving.
Well, also, like one of the things on your list, Mike, was like skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, out of this group here, like it benefits Desiree and Zeus that they're nurses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
because people are
psych nurse.
No,
but you know medical, and you can parlay that. You can barter that.
I think you'd figure out what you needed to figure out, Zeus.
You guys could help people.
Sudden, if you think you know how to properly hunt and dress deer and all that, you actually have a knowledge of nursing that you're going to be able to help and save people.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Tom, we don't know what Tom does for a living, so he probably he probably has skills that we don't know about.
He's going to be at the bunker at NORAD, dude. He's going to be out.
I can kill you with this one finger.
He's going to be the one He's going to be the one that warns us the night before. Get your go bags.
like I know I'm bringing 0 to the table. So
now you got the lighter.
I've got the camper.
I have
got the lighter.
I had a grilled chili on a grill.
I can grill. I'm a chef in this post-apocalyptic and I don't know. I can boil hot dogs. You'll be
boiling shit because it's not gonna work.
You'll be the first judge in the new world.
First.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to. I'll have to get into politics or something. I don't know what the hell I'll do. I'll write the Constitution or something.
Yeah, you're safe. I'm just gonna put you in my pocket and walk around with you and just have you be charming.
There you go. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Now, if you want the killer, I don't think I'm going to have a lot of qualms with killing people that deserve to be killed in a post-apocalyptic world. I'm probably your guy for that. As bad as that is, man, if it comes to saving my friends or my family, I will. Yeah,
well, I don't know. I
will fucking barrel through anything.
Yeah, I think
this is just ready to kill people.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Listen, man, I value life. I'm a nurse, man. I value life far more, and I haven't said that in a while. Thank you, Jack. But I value life a great deal. But when it comes to survival, man, you gotta, like I said, you're right. You're right. We gotta go caveman brain.
Yeah, but Zeus,
air, food, water, fuck.
Zeus, I think that's all of us. The lizard brain kicks in, especially when your family's threatened.
You just seem more eager to do it than the rest of us.
I'm just more aware of what I am capable of.
Yeah. Okay, but listen, we have a dispute now.
I'll kill you right now, motherfucker.
See, when you were off at the bathroom, I was saying that I would stay put, like in my house. Now you're saying you would immediately get up and start.
Fucking moving, man.
So who's at the stay put camp and who's at the just get up and start running around in circles?
I'm at stay here.
I'm at
stay but you got a fucking gun locker in your house and a safe room.
I'm at leave.
I do.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
Badass.
You're gonna leave, Mike?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Well, where are you going?
Then why are you prepping?
There's 330 million people in the country. If they all just start running, where are you guys going?
So there are friends.
To the woods, man. To the woods.
There are friends.
But if all 330 million run to the woods, what's going on in the woods?
But I'm not going to the woods.
Are going to do that.
But where I am is definitely not where you want to be. Look, I live near a place that, on a clear fall day, I can see the U.S. Capitol from a park across the street from my house. So
Okay.
I don't want to be here.
Yeah, you want to get moving.
I want to get out of here. And plus,
You're in ground zero.
myself and my wife are better suited. We have skills and stuff that are better suited to not be here.
How many bonbons can you fit into a backpack, Mike?
Like what? What
Exactly.
are those skills?
I don't know how I'm going to bring the hot tub and the Dom Perignon, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, I think what Tom said
understand.
earlier. I think you
Mike,
have
be
to be
honest. You
prepared.
come to my house first.
You come what?
Come to my house with your guns first.
Maybe. I don't
Then
know.
he'll kill you and take your guns and add them to his guns, and then
I'd never kill
Do you
Mike.
even
then he'd
have any
run
guns,
to the
Mike?
woods.
But it depends on the situation too. Like Tom was saying, I mean, there's different.
Depends on where you are.
The first thing you have to think about, and that you should have these thought processes.
Is there any woods? I mean, is there even any woods around you could go to?
I mean, Rock Creek Park.
Yeah, but is that really the woods?
All the way.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is not a good area, man.
I
mean,
don't
when
think that's-
COVID started, like all the grocery stores were bare shelves in like 30 hours.
Mike, I guarantee you, Rock Creek Parkway would literally get you all the way to Annandale through the woods. Guaranteed.
Look, go to Google Earth, zoom into your house, and then do a mileage counter to where you get out of civilization. And that's the direction you should go if you're going to go. If
So
you're going to
Jack should run to the Pine Barrens.
I think Jack's kind of screwed.
Yes,
He's
dude.
Just-
You mock, but man, staying put is making you a fucking easy target.
Or
I'm
it may be
not
better,
gonna stay in
Well, it's
depending,
kinda
but
like a
depending on the
fort, or,
situation.
you
Yeah,
can
exactly.
fortify. You've got everything.
If you're prepped like Mike's talking about, then you may not have a bunker for the nukes, but you are prepped. Like you can survive.
You can survive.
And if you have firearms, then what do people try to fucking get into your home.
No one's coming into my house and stealing my shit. Trust me.
I think the important thing is, look, there's different emergencies have different strategies. If you're going to stay put, you want to have a lot of resources in a space. But if you're in a situation where you need to go, you need to have tools that allow you to gather resources elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
There is a podcast. I guess it's a podcast. It's a YouTube channel. We've been watching it for 3 years now. It's this guy.
Ancient Aliens?
No, he lives in Virginia. He's retired. He was a lawyer, but now he's retired because his YouTube channel is so successful. It's called The Outdoor Boys, and he puts out a video every Saturday. And it started as this thing where he was just into fishing, and he would like talk about fishing. And then he has 3 sons and young boys, and they would go camping, and he would do stuff. Now he's progressed to the point where he does hardcore like survival camping in Alaska. Mm-hmm. Like he goes to Alaska and he gets on a train and he has them drop him off in the middle of nowhere, and then he hikes.
Yeah, I watched
and then he hikes out.
If I lived in Alaska, I'm just dying. That's what's happening to me because I'm not.
But what I'm saying is, I've learned so much from watching him. This guy can pack a bag that's like this big, and have everything in it that he needs. Oh, you can't see the bag. Anyway,
we get it.
He can start a fire with anything. He keeps track of when the sun's going down. He can build a shelter.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And I've learned a lot just from watching him. I mean, like I want to go to his house. Like if there's a I want to go to where this guy lives.
Survivor Man. I used to watch the shit out of that show, and I know how to carry a fire. I don't know how to
start a fire.
Yeah. But I do know how to carry a fire. I got a few skills. I mean, I'm not saying to save anybody's lives, but I think I could manage for a little while. And I'll even bring along the Nintendo Switch for the boys so they'll shut the fuck up in the apocalypse. But
but
that'll last like 3 hours. Then
not to be political, and this isn't really political, but again, this is
the party.
Here's the thing. This is all skill. Everything that we're talking about, that we've been talking about for an hour now, all these skills, these are things that people just used to know. Like if you were a kid and you grew up and it was 1840, by the time, especially if you're a boy, by the time you're like 7 years old, you could hunt, you could dress a fox, you could cook it, you could start a fire, you could build a shelter, you could camp without a sleeping bag. Like it was just, you just knew how to do it. And now we have lost all of that. I mean, we are so soft, and I don't mean physically.
No, that's the word.
Disconnected.
We're so disconnected from nature.
Yeah.
From how many? Here's the thing. This is something that we did last summer too, for the first time in a long time. And I'm not a big barefoot person, but last summer as a family, we made a point of being barefoot outside as much as possible, like grounding yourself. Like if you're in the yard,
you shouldn't
like
do that.
Take your shoes off.
See,
what'd you say, Des?
You shouldn't really do that, but okay.
Why?
Because there's fungus in the ground.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I lived in Florida for a large portion of my life, man.
Florida.
I've been shoeless for fucking. I love walking around barefoot.
I'm saying there's a connection. Like I made a joke on Sunday.
It's just like putting your toes in the grass sort of thing.
Putting the toes in the grass. I was like, I wonder what the weather is. Like I always check the weather, and I'm like, or I could go outside and look and see what the weather is, because I've been around for 50 years and I know if the sky looks a certain way. Like I already know that, even though I don't, but in the past, farmers could look and see what the weather is going to be the next day. There's knowledge. There's people 200 years ago could walk through the woods and they knew what to eat and what to not eat. Like foraging. Foraging is a amazing skill to have.
For what it's worth,
there's plenty you can eat in any wild environment, and there's plenty you shouldn't eat. Like, but knowing the difference is huge.
For what it's worth, that's it. Can walk through the woods and see a mushroom and pick it up off the ground and bite into it, and she hasn't tripped balls yet, so I'm pretty sure that she knows which mushrooms are edible.
Who is this?
My wife.
Oh yeah, no, yes, my wife can tell.
Polish wives can do that.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
She can. I think I could garden too, and I learned that from her. To be fair, I mean, I think for what it's worth, I think we might be a little more self-reliant than we think we are.
But it's thinking about it. It's having it because for me personally, it was way back in the back of my mind, and that's why during the slideshow I was like, what if something happened right now? Like, what would you do? And thinking about this stuff ahead of time, even if you're not gathering things or having a stockpile, at least having the mental exercise of what you would do is going to put you in such a better position than just trying to figure it out in the moment, because you're gonna be scared for your kids and you're gonna be thinking about that. Like, but anyway,
that's why I lean towards you better get fucking mobile fast, and unless you got a heads up, just fucking push the car to the side, because it's going to burden you.
But Zeus,
it just seems like, Mike, at this point in our lives, like you said, you've learned a lot off the technology, which is what they told us. They said this is going to make us smarter. And to your point about nature, there's a lot that we've left behind. And I don't know how smart we really are anymore. We're more reliant on this thing. But if you really wanted to dedicate yourself using the internet, using the knowledge that's out, like people who know how to do things like this guy you're talking about, you could do it. You could, within a couple of years, become
self-sufficient.
Yeah, more survival ready. But you have to really dedicate yourself to it and want to do it. And people have done that, and people have called them crazy.
Yeah.
You literally have to sort of.
But you know what they are? They're not worrying about this shit because they already got it handled.
Well, right. And that's just it. You have to decide whether you're worried about this shit or not. And then if you are.
I'm not worried about this shit.
No, and I
appreciate to a degree, a very small degree. Like, okay, the degree of a tornado could hit my house, and then what do I do for the next week? Which has happened. I mean, I've been in those situations where you have, for a very small amount of time, you have to figure out what you have to do for the next 3 days to 7 days. But after that, it's fine. It goes back to normal.
Sure, and
Honestly, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no,
Jeff.
I mean, like in Mike's scenario, being able to survive for just like, let's say you have a safe room, right, Desiree?
Hmm.
Okay, a tornado room, whatever they call it. If you have at least jugs of water, so many cans of canned food, some kind of lights like candles or lanterns, batteries, then you're then you're prepped. I mean, you only have to last so long, and you're armed, right? You guys have firearms.
But
So
even then, like your phone still works for, I mean, it might not in the first
Not if
hour or
there's not a
two.
network. Not if there's not a network.
And let's be
In
honest.
the event of tornado, yes, your phone is
Oh,
going to work
tornado.
after 2 hours.
yeah,
Maybe not, and
Talking about
so you're going to
something-
be able to communicate with people. You don't need,
I think
you
we're
just don't need to
talking.
go that far. You really don't even need food because you want to know what's going to happen in 2 hours. They're going to come with food. Like
right.
that's
All right.
going to
Well,
happen.
you're talking about specific
Yeah,
disasters, right? Like
logistics.
Right.
Yeah, yours
Right.
is more logistic. I think, and honestly, Desiree, not to dismiss what you're saying, but I would say like Jack, myself, and Mike and Tom, we're probably actually a little more prepared than you because we have situations, mostly snow, where we're
we've been put out.
disconnected from
We
everything.
have snow. We have that.
Yeah. No. Also, a big.
We had a
a
cold
big-
snap. It
Power
was
outages
negative
out there.
42. We have
Yeah,
power. I mean, we
yeah,
have a lot
power
of it.
outages. It could be a hurricane, like
Yeah.
Hurricane Sandy fucked Jersey up badly. And my
Isabel-
family, I wasn't here for it, but they were, and they were in this apartment building, and they had no power, no water, they had no food for days.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Does anybody know, because I haven't been following it like super close, but the earthquake in Turkey,
Oh yeah.
were the cell phones working for the people that were buried under the rubble? If you had your cell phone with you, was the cell service still working in the city?
I don't
I
know.
I get 9/11 as an answer to that and say that
Unless
not.
it was
they were, but not initially because
I know, but if it was working, see that then you would want to have your cell phone close to you. You don't want to be on your 3-hour break.
Yeah, but
No,
An
yeah.
earthquake go off.
again,
Yeah.
I think what Mike is talking about is something more cataclysmic than
Well,
just
or both. I mean, to like
Even
what
if-
Tom was.
That's what I
saying-
asked before. I was like, what
Yeah.
are we preparing? You said, well, all these are the same.
No,
They're
no, no,
kinda
no. They're
I
different.
don't
not
think
the
they
same.
are the same.
No,
Yeah, I
they're
don't think
very
so
different.
either.
Well,
No,
let's
they're very different.
let's assume you're losing electricity, so you're going to have your phone for a little while,
Yeah.
but you're not
Yeah.
going to have it perpetually. It's not.
No,
it's,
but so in that situation, you want to make sure you have charged battery packs.
Like, okay,
Right.
a grid
But
going down.
it's in that just situation.
A
Well, if
grid
the
going,
grid goes down completely, then it's
so losing
after
power,
a few hours, it doesn't
losing
matter.
power is a huge deal. And I mentioned this earlier, but New York City, and I don't remember the dates. Jack may remember, but
No,
there's
I
been
was a
two
kid.
times. One was in the 70s. They actually made a movie about this. It's fascinating. It's a documentary where power went out, and it was like for like 48 or 50 hours or whatever. It was
Looting.
total pandemonium. It was nuts. Like people had to volunteer to direct traffic because all the red lights were out. I mean, again, this goes back to what I'm saying. Good people will coalesce and kind of do good things. And in this documentary, they showed that there was like, dudes that were like, delivery people that were standing in the middle of the street directing traffic. They had never done it before just because the lights weren't working.
Yeah.
I don't
But
want
it caused huge problems. And it happened again. It was within the last 10 years. I think it was like 2002. New York had another huge grid cascading issue, started in Ohio, all the way across. We had the derecho back in 2012 that came through half the country and wiped a ton of stuff out.
Oh, yeah.
And snowstorms. I remember when I lived in Baltimore that the President's Day storms, there was like 2 back to back. It was like 35 inches of snow, shut everything down for days.
Yeah.
And I remember there was I lived in the city. There was a bar down at the end of the street, and the guy got snowed in at the owner got snowed in, and he was living there, and like we went down there,
drink for free.
well, we went down there, and we were just like walking around the road because the road was shut down, no cars at all, and we saw that he was open, and we went in, and he was telling us the story. I was like, "Do you need anything? Like, do you want to sleep? Like, we had extra rooms, and he's like, no, I'm good. And then I was like, we don't have any booze. Like, can I buy some vodka, rum, or what? And like, he sold us bottles like at price from the bar, to like take home or whatever. It was like hilarious. And this was only like 2 or 3 days. I mean, people
at the end of all this,
it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
We gotta hope for kindness. Like,
and I think you can. I think
I
that
think,
will win out.
In small amounts. I think from older folk like our age, we're gonna find more of that. I think these fucking Gen Z or Y or whatever the fuck they are, they're gonna be fucking lost. The youth is gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, they'll be offended at a lot.
Yeah.
I think the youth are going to be more kind, and the older y'all's generation is going to be every man for himself. Fuck everyone.
There's a mixture. So. There's some people that are older that are like that. I know some of them.
I mean,
absolutely.
I make the comments about what I'm willing to do to keep my family alive, but I got no intentions of ever hurting another person in my entire life if I can avoid it. But I got the capacity, and that's what we.
I think everybody does. Push comes to shove, Zeus. I mean, I think that you don't want to think about that part of yourself, but I mean, people do fucked up things.
The danger that we're in as a society, and I mean worldwide, not just the United States. And again, this is kind of a big throwback episode. We're talking about a lot of stuff we've already talked about, but there's so many people whose their skills, their learned skills that they went to school for, that they're into, completely rely on electricity. I mean, I know people that are incredibly gifted, very smart people, but everything that they do is on a computer. So if you don't have power, they don't know about plumbing, they don't know about electricity, they can't hunt, they don't know any of that stuff. I mean, they're going to be drones. They're the drone bees that the rest of the colony kicks out because they don't know how to use a shovel. You know what I mean?
Just as you were saying about us being nurses and stuff. Well, okay, I mean, I could probably dress a wound, but really all of the nursing stuff I know is based on like very advanced technological things. Like, I'm not going to have an ECMO circuit in the middle of the woods. Yeah, I'm really not saving your life.
But you know what someone's proper blood pressure should be. You probably know how to treat someone that has going into shock. But do you know how to treat someone that's in shock?
But I can't do any of those things because all the things that I know how to do require medications, technology. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna do CPR for hours and hours and hours. I mean, maybe I bet
you could probably stitch a wound. I mean, there's things you could probably do that I can't do.
You're probably not birth the baby. And there's stuff there's probably stuff that would skeeve me out that's not going to skeeve you out. Like Jack said, like sewing a wound. I don't know if I could do that. I don't. Yeah, that's a problem for me. You probably think nothing of it.
Well, Mike, I don't know. You were talking about relying on electricity and the screens. Did you want to go around the group about your experiment?
Yeah. So I talked about.
I did want to mention one thing about Des and I, and it's understandable that she overlooks this, but we speak the language, and a large part of medicine is knowing the language. Hypovolemic, hypervolemic, DM2, diabetic ketoacidosis. Like, there's a lot of things that we can look for that we may not be able to cure, but we can at least help people to avert. Like diabetic ketoacidosis. You see somebody that's diabetic and they're drinking water like it's fucking.
Are you going to know that though in the middle of the woods? You're not going to know that because you don't have lab values, you don't have anything.
No, but that's
not going to be something you know.
But my point is that we do speak a language, and I do mean it's a language. Medicine is a language. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And if you know Latin, maybe you can catch on to some of this, but.
No, you guys have skills. I mean, period. You went to school for something that's useful.
Yes.
This guy could survive. He could survive.
Yes.
He can get the mouses. He knows
he can
how to
forage.
get the mouses. Yeah.
He can
Yes, but
forage.
if you die in your house, they'll find him crawling out of your body.
Yeah.
No,
eat
he'll
you.
sit on me and just meow, meow, meow.
So go ahead, Mike.
So, trying to think where I left. Anyway,
Your experiment.
the experiment with doing without. I think the important thing, and again, for our viewer to think about, it's not about having all the answers. Put that out of your mind. It's about taking the time yourself, the meditation, the doing without, the taking a day off, to let yourself kind of experience what the questions are. I mean, like, what do I know? What do I don't know? Kind of like just resetting yourself a little bit. Like, what do you feel comfortable with? What do you not feel comfortable with? How often are you reaching for a phone? How often are you reaching for technology? And then learn some sort of analog other way to solve that problem. Like, again, going back to the navigation. Oh, I'm just going to put it in my phone. Okay, well, do you know where you live? Like, do you know where north is? Do you know where south is? Do you understand? Do you have a general idea where rivers are, around your house or what? I mean, these sorts of things are incredibly important. And again, having a plan with your extended family and friends. And this is a joke, but I had someone that it was like 30 years ago, but we used to joke that if there was ever like everything hit the fan, that there was this like certain bar in Ocean City, and we would just make our way there to meet. Like whatever, wherever you are.
You got
we
the
would
water at your back, man. There's actually
we
some
would just
convenience to that.
we would make our way there. So if you have, like, I have family, my parents are in Florida. And I don't have an answer yet, but I'm like, how, if there was no communication, what would we do? Like, what would I say? Like, the plan could even be this: listen, guys, you stay put. I will come to you. That's all. That's the plan. Like, it could take 6 months. It could take a year. Who knows? But that's the plan. So at least if something were to happen, they would be like, you know what? We always said that we would be the ones that sit here, and they'll come to us. That way you're not passing each other. Like, they're coming up to DC and I'm heading down to even something as simple as that. I think it's just important to think about. It's important.
Well, it depends where the emergency is.
Yes.
If the nuke goes off near their house, they need to move towards you. If it goes off near your house, you go to.
So maybe the rule is all that. Whatever is closest, or whatever. I don't have all the answers, because I don't even know what all the questions are. You know what I mean? Like, but I do know that thinking about it is a positive thing. I think because we just look, we are on autopilot in our society so much about stuff. It's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like, we just like, we don't know. And then these things happen, and they can be unexpected. I'm not paranoid. And Tom's right. There's different levels. I mean, there's a difference between a bad snowstorm and a tornado. And there's a difference between a tornado and a power grid going down. And there's a difference between a power grid going down and an EMP. And there's a difference between an EMP and a nuclear exchange. Like, some
of these are localized emergencies, and some of them are widespread.
But I think food, water, fire, shelter, communications, like, at least if you have those 5 things, at least an idea of what you're going to do. And if you're a hunter, you're like, look, I got all these arrows, and I'm great, and I live out in the woods and I can hunt. Okay, great. If you live in New York City, you're like, I'm just going to have a bunch of canned food, enough to survive for 30 days. Okay, fantastic. Also, here's a good question. And we lost 2 of us. But okay, so this will be Zeus,
I'm here. I'm just
Tom. Okay, all 4 of you. This is a lightning round. How much water does an adult male need per day to remain healthy?
You can survive without water for 7 days.
No, I'm talking about, but in continuum, like 8 on average. Because, well, you can do without for a day, but eventually it'll catch up with you. So in order to maintain good health, what should you have? I'm not talking about ration.
My answer
the recommended amount of liquid,
like
and it doesn't have to be water.
Well, how long of a period are you talking about?
in perpetuity. Like,
Forever.
what is the
Well,
amount that you should have every day as a healthy person?
Here's the thing. You're going to have diminished resources for eating. So you're going to lose weight.
No,
Which
but you
is-
should. What I'm saying, my point is, we should know this. We should know the
Maybe
answer.
I don't know. Maybe a quart. No
yeah,
idea.
I think we can get by with far less than you think.
The recommended is 3 liters. That's the recommended.
Yeah. Do you drink 3 liters a day?
No, I'm not saying but what I'm saying is,
No, but
I didn't know that number, and that if you go and Google it and look around all this across the board, that's the recommended amount. So I'm not saying you need to account for 3 liters.
That's recommended. I'm sure you can get by on a couple pints.
A liter and a half.
Yeah, and
A bottle.
if it's over a long period of time, you're going to lose weight, which causes you to require less water.
But you could get sick, and which could require you to need more water.
Yes,
My point is, if you're making a plan for 30 days, you need to know how much water a human being needs per day to know if you have enough water to last 30 days. That's the point. Whatever it is.
About half of that. If it's
Okay.
recommended, I would say you need about half.
Okay, but
Well, his point
Half
is you
of
got to
the-
have.
yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta know.
You need to
Like,
know
how-
half of what, Zeus.
yeah, how many
That's what he's telling you.
calories? How many calories per day does a human being need to be
You can
healthy?
survive without food for 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. But what if it's like a year? Like, but so
Not
it's
if you're
what-
on the run like Zeus. I think he's going to need some more calories.
I think for a human male, if you're going to maintain health and be strong and not lethargic, it's like 1,200-1,400 calories a day.
Well, I also think
If you're doing a lot of work, it's going to be more than that. But if you're just like surviving for long term, months and months and months and months and months and months and
I think
months,
it's like 2,500.
yeah, I
it
would
could even
also
be more.
think
Yeah.
that in a case like that, you know, I mean, we're all talking water purification and all these other things, but quite frankly, there is a lot of fresh water out there. You boil it, you're probably, I
Yeah.
mean, yes, you're taking
Fire.
a risk. Yeah.
Mhm.
If you know how to make a fire, that's
you're
huge.
you're golden. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah.
I mean, if
Learn
you
how to
really-
make a fire.
If you really want to have your water be good, you're going to have a couple plastic bags. You're going to boil it over the plastic bag. You're going to have minimal water, but you will have some liquid sustenance. I think that's the route I would be going. I would be figuring out ways to purify my water short of purification tablets, because that's depending on technology again.
Yeah.
In the long run, you gotta go caveman brain, maybe a little bit beyond caveman brain, you know, a little bit
But
educated.
you also have to support your dependents. So if you have children, you have to be thinking for them too. So you're going to have to generate 3 liters of water, or 4 liters, you know, or whatever whatever that is. The one thing, speaking, and Tom has heard of or watched Outdoor Boys, but the big thing I learned from this guy with fire, this guy can make fire out of. You can give him like a Twinkie and like, you know, a computer mouse, and he'll make a fire out of it. It's amazing. But the thing that he taught me over time was, you guys know the expression of building a fire? Okay, so I've been camping. I've camped a lot, and especially since COVID started. I would build a box fire, and Zeus is going to laugh because I'm horrible at building fires. But I would build like a box fire or pyramid fire with all the logs, and you put the stuff in, and you'd light it. And No. Building a fire is, you get a tiny little bit of flammable stuff. This guy uses like cotton balls soaked in Vaseline, and he uses like flint and steel or like a plunge igniter or whatever like that. And he gets that little cotton ball going, and then he has like shavings from tree bark, and he kind of throws those on top, and then he has like sticks, and he builds the fire. Like, he starts small, and then he starts putting logs on it. It's amazing. Like, I never thought of it that way.
And
But
the
that's why
crazy
they
thing
say
about
build
that-
a fire. You start with a flame, and you just keep adding larger and larger wood until you get to the logs.
The crazy thing about that is I can't remember Survivor Man. It's not Man versus Wild, because that guy's a fucking boob. But Survivor Man has this whole thing where you build your fire, and then you take oddly enough flammable materials on both sides of it, and you just you keep blowing on it to keep it fresh. But you can carry a fire for miles.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. You mentioned carrying it.
Yeah, it's an
before,
old Indian trick.
I
That you
didn't
just
know
roll
nothing
it
about
up and you take it with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
campsite.
awesome.
It's pretty simple. Like
Just the embers, though.
yeah,
You know what?
embers.
the embers.
You roll up the embers inside of a little.
I
little
never
bit
even
like
thought of that. That's
randomly-
awesome.
Yeah, and it'll last you forever. You just got to blow on it and keep the oxygen going to it. But otherwise, it's not a very complex process. Also, like looking for tracks. I don't know how to make a trap.
Oh yeah,
know.
trapping. Yeah, that's another
But-
thing. Trapping.
looking-
If you don't have a bow and arrow.
Well, you don't necessarily even have to trap. Like I do have a bow and arrow, but like if you know where to follow tracks, you know that they've been there before. They'll most likely be there again. So you may have to wait, but you are going to be able to hopefully, if your accuracy or if you can build a trap is any good, and I'll bet I could build a trap if I had to, but it would be a process. It would be a learning.
Mhm.
But I could definitely take something out with a bow. I'm not even.
Your point, Zeus, is interesting. In look, all this stuff we've known it before. Like there's none of this. We're not. You don't have to be Elon Musk to try and figure out how to get to Mars, even though we may have done that before too. That's another podcast. But my point is, human beings have already figured all this stuff out. We just forgot it. Tracking, trapping, fishing, hunting,
again,
all that stuff. It's all out there. It's just educating yourself.
I think
Right.
we may be more capable of surviving being Gen Xers. I know that sounds silly, but
Well, what's Desiree think on that?
Well, I really think that what you're saying, like they're surviving like in the wilderness. I just don't. I mean, that's maybe location by location, but I mean, if shit goes down in the middle of Kansas, for
the
example,
wilderness.
there's not a lot of wilderness to survive in. I mean, there is, but that's a lot of prairie filled wilderness. Like there's no, you're not going to
So
be
what's your
tracking
area like?
tracks because
It's prairie. Okay.
there, and yeah, I mean, there's like wooded areas, but it's not enough to like be to
Doesn't
hide
connect
in and
to
stay in
another
for
large wooded
and
area.
all the people to hide in anyway. I mean,
Have you ever seen Blair Witch Project, Desiree?
Oh,
No, that's where we live. That's Mid-Atlantic, East Coast. That's the woods. That's the
Yeah,
woods that we have here.
Jersey. Yeah, Jersey's a lot of woods too.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
it's
pines.
and I wasn't joking when I said that I think that Mike could actually, if he's close to Rock Creek Parkway, you lived in Virginia.
Yeah,
Get to Annandale. Well, I'm talking to Jack. I pointed
yeah,
at.
I know.
To get to Annandale, there's enough woods. Virginia's a very forested state.
there's a lot
so-
of trees.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I can totally see. Yeah, you might have to walk across a few areas where you're not covered by the woods. But another thing I would be looking for in Annandale, and Mike, you'll appreciate this. How many times when you lived here were you outside and you heard the train, but you had no fucking idea where the train was?
from far away, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I want to say it was Accotink, but
something else about Virginia, when I used to live in Southwest Virginia when I went to Virginia Tech, and we used to go spelunking a lot, and I just thought of it just now. But if you live in an area with caves, you can get a few hundred feet below grade pretty quickly, and there are freshwater streams down there that are filtered through limestone. That the water is stuff that was rained like 8 years ago. So it's been filtering through limes. You can drink it right out of the thing. So
Yeah,
and
and
there's
so-
rooms down there that are as big as like
Mhm,
football stadiums. You
Yeah,
know?
but so if you go in one state over Missouri, there's tons of that shit in Missouri. I mean, there's caves on caves on caves on caves in Missouri, and
Yeah.
streams and water and
fresh
just areas.
water,
That's not
shelter,
the case
constant
here.
temperature. It's like 58 degrees all the time.
Yeah, it's just not the case here. So,
Well-
yeah, I am staying in my house. Like,
Yeah.
because
Oh yeah.
why would I go out and be exposed, And you can start a fire with, you can go outside of your house, grab something, and if you zip a zipper fast enough, it'll spark it. You could start a fire. Like, so it's not something that I'm
Well,
super
and-
concerned about. But
and
I
you
think for most,
Start a fire with your zipper?
I think for most
Yeah,
people,
probably.
and Desiree,
you
I don't know about that.
Desiree,
if you fucking
Here, let
zip
me
it
try
fast
that.
enough and it sparks.
I got to get some of those zippers. But I think to Desiree and Tom's point, and
Never seen a spark from a zipper.
You never know.
How fast are you unzipping your pants? God damn.
But there is there's a lot of
that can
Just
vary.
setting off sparks.
maybe not where you guys live, but there is a lot of rainwater collection apparatuses around. There's a lot of that. People have them at their houses.
Yeah.
We've talked about getting one. We have a lot of so my son's dad is a very avid hunter. Like he can hunt anything and it was not a problem for me. So I'm not worried about that. He would share with me,
Yeah.
What I can garden, I can collect seeds, I can do that stuff. And so I'm not gonna leave my house because here in my house I have land to garden on,
And familiarity. The area. The problem with
my soil, I know.
The problem with bugging out is you're going into someone else's familiar place, right? So you're going somewhere else that someone else is like, this is my space. I think probably for the majority of people, and I'm talking about suburbs and denser locations, I think planning on staying in your own home is probably the best bet. I mean, seriously, I think that's probably the best for the majority of people.
Again, that really just depends on the degree of what disaster we're talking.
Zeus, you're in an apartment, though. It's different. For you, you'd probably want to get out of there. But
I can sleep in my safe room. I know I'm not.
I'm heading to Wichita.
Yeah, we're in houses, so
I'm making a beeline for Wichita.
Hey,
to the plains.
But also, it is Kansas, whatever. But Wichita is the air capital of the world. Like we are a big target, air capital of the world. So we are a big target.
Air capital.
Yeah.
What's
so
that mean?
a lot of
aircraft.
Aircraft originates here. The majority of the world's aircraft originates in Wichita.
You mean manufacturing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
all sorts of aircraft manufacturing.
Okay, but Boeing is up in Seattle, though.
It's not just Boeing. It's not just Boeing. Boeing's here too.
Yeah.
Boeing headquarters used to be in Wichita. They moved to Seattle, but everyone else is here.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Desiree, you're a woman in a apocalyptic situation. Your husband is going to have to protect you on all levels because you will be one of the currencies that they will be.
And maybe, you know what? Maybe I need to use myself as currency. Who knows? I know that sounds terrible, but if I had to, I have to.
It depends again on what kind of a fucking disaster we're talking about. I mean, if we're talking about women,
the apocalypse,
our currency, if it's that bad, then
I'm okay. Pretty bad.
I'm okay with.
That's not day 2 of the power outage.
Exactly.
Yeah, on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's not at the top. Yeah.
No, but I would think if you own a home, if you're in a house, you can do some prepping and reasonably, like be a reasonable person who's not worried about the end of times and stock up on cans, stock up on
generator,
stock up on bottled water, invest in a generator.
We have one, it's so loud.
And maybe have some firearms just to protect your home and your family. I mean, like it's doable without having to learn how to be man versus wild or
well this is something
if you want to take a little bit further, get a rainwater collection barrel. They're not that expensive. They don't take much.
You can have them in an urban area.
Right. They're illegal in California. California outlawed those. Yeah.
Why?
Because of the water shortages out there. They will not let you collect your own.
Because they want the water to get into the soil and get back into the water table?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Wow. It's like that movie, Chinatown.
Yeah, man.
Running the water.
Well,
I guess in an emergency, you could make one and start using it, but you can't have one.
You're also praying for rain.
Yeah.
Well,
but here's a little bit of just kind of framing this a little bit that I think is important. And this is something my wife and I kind of stumbled upon in our conversations. So many times, and I'm like this, and I'm sure some of you guys are like this too, but when you're trying to solve a problem, you're trying to solve it in a perfect way. Like, I want to solve this and have it be bulletproof. But this situation is not like that. Really, the focus you need to have is percentages. All you're trying to do is increase your percentages. So nothing is foolproof. You can't be like,
No.
oh man, I'm not gonna do this because it's not going to guarantee this result. No. You do this because it gives you a 15% better chance.
Right.
That's why you do it.
All
Well,
you're
that's-
asking for is a chance. Yeah.
You're asking for a chance. You're asking just to increase your odds. You can't. Nothing is foolproof. Our society today, everyone wants everything to be guaranteed and perfect. You have to You have to take that and throw it aside. You have to do things that just make your chances better.
That's why I was saying that, like, I think I could probably handle dressing an animal. I think that's a pretty
A nice little
thing.
tie and like a hat, maybe a little tutu.
Well,
But all jokes aside, my biggest concern with that is that it has some kind of disease.
Yeah, and I don't know how to check for that.
And I'm honestly, like, now I'm like the two things I'm thinking about is getting maybe a barrel, not a barrel, but one of those buckets of MREs. Just put it to the side. If I never use it, fucking great.
Fantastic.
But if
Money
I
well
do,
spent.
that's fine. But I also think I'm gonna learn the basics of dressing an animal. I don't ever foresee this happening.
It's good to know anyway.
well,
but I don't think we're at the end of the world.
as far as learning the basics of dressing an animal, okay, fine. But like Mike said before, if you even have the Boy Scout manual of, that teaches you how to do different things that we don't know how to do, having maps, having resources that you can look
I'm
at.
gonna buy a map.
Maps.
Well, I see. I mean, again,
A printed map.
if you're serious about being a little more prepared, you can do it. The
Look,
knowledge is there.
Here's something that everyone all of our viewer watching this podcast can do tomorrow to help themselves is just print out the physical addresses and phone numbers of anyone that you would want to be in contact with, and just put it in a piece of paper and put it somewhere. Like,
Okay, so I have
that's
a
going to
very
save you. That's amazing. That's huge.
I do have a very
Phones are working.
this is kind of a different direction, but I have something that is a little bit of a prep, if you say, but it's a little bit different. So I have
All right.
in case I go missing file.
What? Oh my gosh.
No, hold on, hear me out. So
Yeah, no, tell
If I
We
go
know Zeus
missing-
is coming after you. He
The very-
thinks you're currency.
well,
so
no, but think about it. The very first
you're gonna
Jesus.
disappear.
So I have a file that on the very first page it says, if I go missing, please look for me. I have not left my life voluntarily. So then it has in there, because that's a lot of the things that when you go missing,
Your
people are like, oh, she
Epstein
probably
letter.
just left their own freaking, she probably just ran off. She probably hates this life. It's the very first thing. And they don't look for you for hours. For days.
Wow.
Right.
So then I have like different like phone numbers of people that, because if I would probably have my phone, but if I didn't, they wouldn't get into my phone for a while. I mean, it's a fingerprint thing. So they would have to reset my phone, but then it would erase everything. So, it would be kind of a ordeal for them to get. And Craig doesn't have that information. I mean, he doesn't know what my friends' phone numbers are. Like, he just doesn't.
Right.
And so
Yeah, man.
that
Well,
stuff's
what if
in there.
you're
I have different
killer?
markings like scars. I have just a notation of all that stuff about me. Like,
Desiree, that's amazing. That's awesome.
But what if
everyone
somebody
should have one.
It's a little dark.
Yeah.
No,
I know,
but
but-
it's hugely I mean
It's useful
Yeah.
if I go missing.
But what if somebody
That's
who
huge.
I mean, who knows? I'm
Who
going
finds
on
this
vacation
phone?
with you guys in a month. I mean, who knows? What if I go
She
missing?
she does visit all those murder houses. So
For that.
Look, there's
True.
a very simple thing, and people did this when cell phones first came out. I don't know if people still do it, because like what Desiree said, everything's like you have to have a thumb or a code to get in. But in your phone, there was a thing, ICE. Do you guys know about that? In case of emergency, so you would have
That has like your emergency phone contact numbers, or a emergency contact.
Yeah, it would be
your
like-
medications, your allergies.
or even just like you'd have 100 people in your phone, but you would one of them would start with ICE in case of emergency, and police know that. So if they find your phone, they look up ICE, right? And it's like, Mary or what? Okay, this is who I need to call in case.
Mhm.
You know,
I mean,
my
simple.
biggest-
I
no,
have
they
it on
just
my
say
phone. I
they
have
just
it on
say
my phone.
Siri, call mom, and then it
Or
calls,
just Siri call ICE.
that's all you-
I have it in my phone. It's my wife's cell phone number.
Here's my thing, and we were talking about this, and I think we're kind of skirting around our biggest concern, which is where we become the reason for the Second Amendment, and that is that our government just goes south. That's when I think of like natural disaster, I think that at bare minimum, the government will capitalize on the situation.
I'm just gonna jump in and then I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay.
But it's as important because I did a lot of reading online with all these like prepping things and the practical preppers and all of them. The subject no one wanted to talk about, and Zeus is hitting it right on the head, was security, weapons, having to deal with other people, violence, all that stuff. So anyway, this is something that in that community of even like casual preppers, it's a distasteful thing they don't want to talk about. But anyway, Zeus, you're right on.
I mean, well, because it's the scariest concept. And honestly, I just don't, man, over the last few years that we've done this show, my trust for anyone in government, Republican, Democrat, fucking whatever, is so diminished that if something like this happens, I feel like a part of that is going to be us being abused by those that have the resources that we're going to have to work even harder for. And that's a very frightening concept. And that's why I'm like, if you're going to do something, you got to bug out. You got to fucking bug out and wait till you see parades in the streets. You know what I mean? And they better not be goose stepping. You know, I really do feel like if something catastrophic worldwide or even just in the US happens, we're going to have to go Wolverines. You know, like fucking, I know that sounds.
No, I just started the podcast. Like, I'm not talking about Red Dawn, but yeah.
But, I mean, I don't think that it's realistic to think that if something cataclysmic happens, that those in power are still going to want to maintain that power. They're still, and it's going to be easier because they have the resources, they have the guns, you know? So I just don't think that there's like this gray area where everybody just has to survive for 3 months and everything's going to be all hunky-dory. I think if shit goes down, we're Rome. We collapse.
Well,
if that happens, then I'm just dying. Like I'm not trying to do this for years after years.
You are a woman. You'll live, but you're gonna hate life.
No, if things go bad like to that extent, I mean, you got to realize the government. It's still all going to come down to resources and water and food, and it benefits the government to keep the masses happy.
Yes.
It's still a power grab. They're going to want to centralize the resources, the water, but not to hoard, to disperse evenly. It's going to be the perfect like little setup for a communist socialist sort of form of government where they've got the control. Like they're still going to want the control. You're totally right about that. But if let's say if a few million people are going to reign and rule over 100 million,
330.
Well,
yeah,
you're assuming everybody survives in this post-apocalyptic world you're talking about. They're going to have to play ball with the masses. They're going to have to keep them fed and happy and to some extent docile. Otherwise, their power is not going to last very long. They're not the only ones with the guns.
One white Charlies.
Yep. They probably, they may not have the one white Charlies either. I'm just saying.
Nobody likes to stick gas.
It's true now, and it's, I mean, like right now, people forget that they depend on us, not the other way around. The reason why it's the other way around is because they control the electric grid, they control the information, they control the resources, but that's because we all want some, right? If all of that suddenly is out the window, there's no power grid, there's no electricity, whatever, they're going to have to keep things organized or they're going to lose their power. There's going to be uprisings. There's going to be possible takeovers. I mean, like, happen. So they want to keep everybody happy. I just think it would go that way. Unless they got taken out. If we're talking nuclear, then you're right. There's no centralized.
Say goodbye to Zeus and me. Yeah. That would be bad.
Yeah, me too.
I actually
me too.
that their DC is not gonna be the place to hit. We have no nuclear armaments in the DC area. Guaranteed.
It's the hub of the
Right.
The
government.
hall of
They want to knock
everything.
out the government.
So
Zeus.
here, and just to bring it back, and I know we're going to be getting off soon or getting off the podcast soon, but here's the whole crux of the point that at least I wanted to make is no matter what the issue is, if everything from a snowstorm, tornado to thermonuclear war, or whatever, the whoppers involved. I think
We play a game.
for most people, and I speak for myself, that are just, I wake up, I go to work, I come home, whatever, get surveilled by my government and all that stuff. But anyway, for most people like me, I think just being prepared, quote unquote, for 30 days is plenty, because whatever the situation is,
They'll come get
if
you.
everything hits the fan and you're not prepared for 30 days, if like right now, bang, right? You're thinking, how am I going to survive to tomorrow? What am I going to do for next week? Like, where's my next meal coming from? Then you're not thinking longer term. But if you already know that you got 30 days, then you can start doing that longer range thinking right from the get, no matter what the disaster is, because you're good for 30 days. And that, again, puts you into 99 percentile, because most people aren't thinking that. So whatever the situation is, it buys you time where you're not like, where's my water coming from tomorrow? How am I going to eat tomorrow? How am I going to feed my cat? Like, where's my medication
Oh,
coming
your
from?
cat's food, dude. Your cat's
But
food.
my point is, I think we're overthinking it. I think a lot of people overthink it, and that's why I wanted to do this episode, because I think and I've been thinking about this for days and talking to my wife, and you guys will meet her in a few weeks. I definitely married up. She's a very smart lady. Our point is, if you can prepare for 30 days, you're putting yourself in a position, if you're playing the odds,
You're gonna be a survivor.
that you're going to be in a good position, and don't overdo it. It's better done than perfect. You don't have to have a year of preparation, right? You just have to get ahead. What's that old thing, like, you don't have to be faster than the bear, you just have to be faster than
And the guy next to
The
you.
other
the guy
yeah.
behind you. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Really.
And to addend to that, the other scary thing is, were something to go down, when do you actually reach the point where you go, I got to take out my neighbor? Like, that's gonna be
I know, but I don't want to think
Jesus,
about
Zeus.
that, man. Dude,
Right?
it goes so dark so fast. Yeah, I don't think
but that's
that,
how
man.
it's gonna be, dude.
I don't know if it
This
is.
is like,
That's my
how
whole
soon can I
point.
start raping the women? I mean, stop it, man.
No.
Jeez,
I'll
just
kill
try to
their-
last a couple weeks.
I'll kill their man
Without
and they'll
killing anybody.
succumb
Give
to
it 30 days,
enmity.
man. How am I the one on this podcast that's like Mr. Yelling at Clouds? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, no, but
How did I get that
I
moniker?
really don't think that I'm talking nonsense. I think if
You're
it
not.
goes down, it's going to go dark fast. And your capability to go along with that darkness is what's going to keep you alive. I'm not, but and again, you guys mock, but what I said is, I'm worried about when you come to that point where you say, I got to do something I never in my life wanted to do. But if I got to keep these
Yeah, I got you.
I got to keep these two people alive
Right.
with me.
It's when
Well,
they
Tom-
come
That could
for
happen.
you.
Get the
Other
joke.
than that, you don't.
Behind me.
Tom,
Said
Tom had,
if you're a gun owner, though you're prepared to use it. If somebody breaks in your house
Hmm.
in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
you're ready to take action. I
Mhm.
mean, you're already
But
thinking
that's
about
if they
it.
come for you.
Right.
If
right.
they
Like,
don't.
if you're
And-
just
and
So if they
something-
don't, so that's when you take out your neighbor, when they start coming for you.
Right.
Yes.
Look,
Right.
Can I-
And
let
it's
me
gonna
just-
last
You've
faster
already
than
prepared for that because
anybody
you're a
thinks.
gun owner.
But
Hey.
yeah, already and prepared. So
I've got an
Come at me.
anecdote.
See what
I've got an
happens.
anecdote real quick. So there's people that I know that have family in Ukraine, and when all this crap started hitting the fan, there was a lot of communication back and forth with her and her family and friends and things like that, and a lot of people were just hunkering down, right? And there were people that were like, we're getting the hell out, and there's people that were just hunkering down. And there's a lot of these people that they got the hell out, and their apartment building got destroyed like a week later or whatever. I mean, so there's no right answer. I mean, Tom had me eating my cat, or was it Zeus? Someone had me eating my cat like on day 3. Like that would freak me out. I mean, I'm not gonna do that, man. There's no way I'm gonna eat my cat.
You're gonna die then.
I love my cat, but
I'm not gonna do any cannibalism. I don't care.
No,
no cannibalism.
People.
Cats? What?
They also probably don't taste very good.
Yeah. I mean, even if you survive, how are you gonna? You can't live with that. I mean,
and then I think after this, I'm gonna the last.
Yeah, we got to bug out soon, guys. Speaking of bug
by the way, I wanted to add
your bug out bag.
Maybe we'll start next week, but I think we should have like a 2-minute rant at the end of where we kind of summarize the show. I think it'd be great. But here's my little thing to what Mike said. Remember when Lena was on and how she was discussing how she has no contact with any people there?
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Shit goes south and people want you to be disjointed and fucking, scared and frightened. It can happen like that.
Yeah.
This is not a third world country we're talking about. Iran
is not.
Technology. They're the next in line for nuclear fucking.
They're a first world country, dude.
They are fucking first world, and she cannot contact people in that country because they shut shit down. And God, I really sound like I'm going fucking psycho, but it really is very frightening that a country that is nowhere near as technologically advanced as we are can shut your communication down like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not gonna happen. There would be a coup before that happens.
No, I hope it doesn't, and I don't think it is.
Or there would be 18 to 20 industrial disasters that cause us to fucking have to curl up in our houses.
It's happened to a degree. People have been their communications. They've been kicked off Twitter. I mean, that's the beginning.
I'm not saying it's like naive to think that, Desiree. I just think you should be a little more skeptical.
Not to where I'm going to have to survive in the wilderness. I mean, fucking Facebook went down for a day one time. That was weird. They pick up Twitter. I mean, whatever. If we're talking about the lack of technology, who gives a shit? That's not going to be around.
As Monty Python says, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition, right? I mean, look, that's the whole thing. Things are unexpected.
If they can do it, imagine what our government could do.
Well, look here,
and there's not a more
what our government has done.
We've got right now.
We've put people in internment camps.
Look, we have, and listen, there's people that are like, World War III. What are we talking about? It's again, when World War II started, which again we had Vietnam, we have Korea, but World War II is a big touchstone, and a lot of people in the United States are like, oh, World War II started on December 7th, 1941. The war was going on in Europe for a year or more before
5 years.
5 years. I mean, a long time. My point is
1939.
Yeah, 2 years.
So 41.
There is an argument to be made that geopolitically, pawns and pieces are being maneuvered strategically. You've got Iran and Russia and China, and you've got the United States and NATO, that things are kind of coalescing around something that could turn into something more. Like, who knows? Whatever. But to whistle past the graveyard and say that there is zero chance of this happening, I think
that's ridiculous.
I think that's a fanciful. I think that's a fanciful
fantasizing about.
Thing.
I don't believe so.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Fantasizing. I don't think that's.
I'm not fantasizing. It scares the shit out of me. I just want to make money and have my kid go to school and be happy and I would love to be a painter or an artist or a film. I don't want to deal with all this shit. I would love to never have to deal with politics. The only I do it, but grudgingly. I do it because I can't just see people be assholes like this and not say anything. I would love to just have people handling everything in a way that's like 50%
I'm
what I
saying-
like, where I don't have to worry about it, and I
All
would just
I'm
live my
saying
life. But that's
is-
not the situation.
All I'm saying is in the last 2 years, we have been fucking sheep. Wear a mask. Fucking get a shot. We fucking went in full bore doing exactly as we were told. And just imagine, here's a conspiracy theory. Just imagine that the COVID was the first in the social experiment, and now all these explosions everywhere and industrial problems are the next phase of this social experiment, and it's just seeing what can be done with us willingly, and then weeding out those that don't want to play the game. That, I mean, it's conspiratory, but it's not that fucking far-fetched either. I mean,
All right, guys. Well, on that note,
And if you want to stay ahead
I
of the
think we've been
curve,
on long enough.
stay
Yeah.
tuned to the Friends of
Wrap
Zeus
it up.
podcast. Yes, I think it's time.
survivors.
Look, I'm gonna go out since it's nighttime here, and I'm gonna go out of my shelter and go harvest some squirrels. And I'll see you guys next week.
Don't leave the meeting, but stop the recording. Oh, wait, Des, what are the words? Come on.
She did it already.
What do you mean I did it already? I'm confused.